Welcome to Science in Your Shopping Cart, a new series that shows how science touches many of the products you buy at the grocery store, from new varieties of fruits and vegetables to technological advances that make your food safer, cheaper, and tastier. I'm Todd Silver. Analytics is all the craze these days. Coaches, players, managers, they all point to analytics as a means of getting an edge over their competition. I mean, how many times have you heard a football coach mention analytics after going for it on 4th and 2?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs, you kidding me?
Or a baseball manager pointing to analytics for bringing in a lefty to face a right-handed batter.
What kind of question was that? We trusted our analytics.
Analytics is science, and science is everywhere in sports. From designing helmets to help reduce the occurrence of concussions, to creating golf clubs that hit the ball straighter and farther. Every part of a sport, from the clothing to the equipment, even to the playing field, has been enhanced by science. Today, we're going to look at how agricultural science has impacted sports, like how hydration can affect an athlete, not only physically, but psychologically, and how nanoparticles can help uniforms control sweat and odor. We'll also look at improved natural grasses for playing fields, and how enhancing the process for making leather materials results in better quality sports gloves. And we'll talk with a registered dietitian about how to keep your body in top shape for athletics. All this in a fan-packed edition of Science in Your Shopping Cart. But first, we're heading to the dugout to find out what a beetle and a baseball bat have in common. The Baltimore Orioles are my baseball team. We've been down for a while, but we have a lot of prospects.
So I'm a Phillies fan by marriage when I moved here 10 years ago. And I go to probably 3 games a year. The balls never seem to come our way when it's time to catch the balls, but we get on camera a lot.
I did my PhD degree program at University of Massachusetts Amherst. So you know I'm associated with the Red Sox.
Okay, I won't put that past you.
That was back in 1990s. Actually, there's a story associated with the Red Sox. I was actually working in Massachusetts, trying to use a red spherical trap. It's red spheres like an apple mimic. So we want to put a pesticide on the surface of a painted red ball. It doesn't work. We were watching Red Sox game, and my advisor said, yeah, maybe we should try to put the ball in the Red Sox and treat the pesticide. Actually, it worked much better than directly applying pesticide on the sphere surface. So that was pretty cool.
The sport of baseball is woven into America's culture like the uniforms worn by the players. Baseball has been around for nearly 150 years, and in that time we've seen plenty of home run sluggers, from Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron to the masters of today like Aaron Judge and Mike Trout.
Trout! Let's go!
Baseball wouldn't be nearly as popular without its home run hitters, and those hitters wouldn't be successful if not for the wooden bats they swing for the fences with. Did you know that most professional baseball bats are made from either maple or ash? That's because these two popular trees provide their handlers with a strong, durable product that doesn't easily splinter. The ash tree, which is found all over North America, provides a lot more than durable material for baseball bats. Ash trees are also excellent buffers around farms and in forests because they soak up lots of water, which helps prevent runoff into our waterways. They also provide habitat for tons of wildlife. And while baseball players enjoy smashing fastballs with their wood bats, another species loves ash trees even more, the emerald ash borer.
Emerald ash borer, it is a very beautiful green metallic beetle. It's about up to 15 millimeter long. If you just ignore its damage, it's very beautiful. It was first detected in southern Michigan and also in Ontario in Canada in 2002, I believe. That is the first time they noticed large-scale ash trees dead, and they didn't know what it was. And they peeled the bark and realized there was a beetle galleries under the bark.
The emerald ash borer is in essence a beetle. It originated in Asia and first arrived in the United States about 20 years ago. Since that time, it's taken a liking to the ash tree, like Mookie Betts takes a liking to hits. Unfortunately, the emerald ash borer, or EAB, is the dominating pest in ash trees, like the New York Yankees dominated the 20s and 30s. So much that this tiny beetle has killed hundreds of millions of ash trees across North America.
It's probably one of the most destructive tree pests ever in this country. The adults actually don't do much damage. They just nibbling a little bit of foliage, but it's the larva stage. They lay eggs under a loose bark. Each adult beetle female can lay 200 to 300 eggs. Basically, each adult beetle can kill a tree.
ARS research entomologist Dr. Jian Zhuan has been studying the emerald ash borer for years. He works here at the Beneficial Insects Introduction Research Unit in Newark, Delaware, alongside biological science technician Jonathan Schmude, who was the Phillies fan you heard at the beginning of this episode. Zhuan explained that the newly hatched larvae feed on the cambium tissue of the tree. This tissue acts as a pathway for water and nutrients to travel up and down the tree. By eating away the cambium tissues, the emerald ash borer literally chokes off water and nutrients from the base of the tree to its branches. The tree typically dies in 3 to 5 years. ARS researchers have worked with fellow USDA agencies for decades to study ways to protect ash trees from the emerald ash borer. These beetles have spread across the continent, and a single female can lay hundreds of eggs on an ash tree, which then hatch and the larvae burrow into the tree. So it's impossible to completely eradicate them at this point. Instead, Zhuan and his collaborators are focusing on biological control methods to reduce the emerald ash borer populations to low numbers, which don't kill the trees. This first required research expeditions to lands native to the emerald ash borer, mainly from northeastern China to the Russian Far East. But when scientists traveled there, what they found was not what they expected. They found some beetles, but not a lot of dead ash trees.
So they think, well, there must be some factors limiting this beetles population. They found out there's probably 2 major factors. One is the bottom-up resistance from ash trees. The Asian species of ash trees in general are very resistant to this beetle. But in the meantime, they also found natural enemies, primarily parasitic wasps, attacking egg and larva stage with these beetles. So we basically want to introduce the native natural enemy in Asia that have co-evolved with emerald ash borer for millions of years and also inflicted very high percentage of mortality of eggs and larvae of this beetle. We decided to import this parasitic wasp to the US and release some of the parasitic wasps to the environment. This is classical biocontrol, natural enemy introduction. Hopefully they will help to suppress the beetle populations.
As an aside, I asked Zhuan, why don't we just import the native ash trees? He noted that importing trees could cause ecological issues. It could be prone to pests already here, and they may not grow and thrive in our diverse climates across the country. Instead, scientists found biocontrol to be a very effective means of reducing populations of invasive species. However, the process isn't as easy as trapping a few wasps, bringing them over to the US, and releasing them into the fields. First, you have to study their effectiveness in their native land. Then you have to quarantine them and conduct years of tests to ensure they won't become a problem themselves. If they are found effective and determined safe to release into the wild, they then have to be bred in large enough quantities to be effective against their host or prey. To date, researchers have released 4 different parasitic wasps to reduce the emerald ash borer population, 3 native from northeastern China regions, and 1 from the Russian Far East. All are natural enemies of the emerald ash borer, kind of like the Dodgers and the Giants.
As of now, we have 3 parasitoids from Northeast China approved and released in 2007 and 1 larval parasitoid from the Russian Far East in 2015. So now we have 4 sets of parasitic wasps in the US that can be legally released to combat the emerald ash borer. In the meantime, USDA-ARS built a mass rearing facility to produce these beneficial parasitic wasps in Brighton, Michigan. So 100,000 wasps are now being produced and sent to different collaborators in different EEB-infested areas for releases.
The beauty of these wasps is they only feed on the eggs or the larvae of the emerald ash borer, like a hitter who only swings at fastballs. They have not shown to feed on the ash tree itself or any other trees or crops, and they haven't seemed to bother pollinators or other beneficial insects. They also have short life cycles, like 3 to 4 weeks. How these wasps attack the emerald ash borer is straight out of a horror film. I'd put your food down for this one. The egg wasp itself is tiny, typically smaller than its prey. This particular wasp is less than 1 millimeter long. The wasp walks up and down the tree smelling for the freshly laid emerald ash borer eggs. Once it picks up the scent, it nestles through the loose bark of the tree and lays its eggs inside the egg of the emerald ash borer.
One single parasitoid larva eventually basically eat everything inside the emerald ash borer egg yolk, all the proteins inside, and it came out after about 3 to 4 weeks. They develop to another adult wasp and keep looking for more eggs.
One of the larva parasitoids lays its eggs inside the emerald ash borer larva, and for the next 10 to 12 days, it feeds on the inner tissues of the beetle larva.
They don't feed very fast because they want their host to grow, to reach a stage where they think, oh, it's enough. And they basically eat everything of the parasitized beetle larvae. Basically, when they rupture out from the beetle larva, you don't see them anymore. Just saw a head capsule in the gallery. And then you probably 60 to 100 tiny wasps coming out of emerald ash borer larva.
Quite a visual, isn't it? Like something out of a Tim Burton movie. Zhuan has seen huge results from their biological control program, reducing emerald ash borer populations by as much as 75 to 80% in natural habitats in Michigan and New England.
We have been monitoring EEB populations as well as the parasitic wasp populations in the last 15 years. So we've got 15 years data to show that not all the ash trees that the EEB population clearly has been really very low. So we reach a low EEB density dynamics with the parasitoid. Means the EEB is there, but the density is not high enough to kill a lot of ash trees. There are 2 phases in this project. First phase, we want to see EEB density reduction. And second phase, we want to see the ash trees recovery, regeneration, and regrowth.
Zhuan said he's seen progress in forest in Michigan, but in New England and other parts of the country, they're still evaluating the effects of the biocontrol methods. It could take years or decades to fully assess whether ash tree populations in certain regions have recovered and regenerated from the successful biological control of the invasive beetle.
The importance of research is to think about how important the ash trees are to the hardwood forest ecosystem in the U.S. We probably will never recover the system to the level before this beetle was introduced into the U.S., but at least to a level where it still provides functional ecological services. I think I would consider very successful.
Fewer beetles means more ash trees to make baseball bats out of. And that's something all baseball fans and players can get amped up about. Well, except pitchers.